What up, YouTube? Here with a prediction video for this Saturday's upcoming Undisputed Lightweight Title bout between two undefeated champions, George Kambosos and Devin Haney. Two champions at the hottest division of the sport, I might add. It's happening at the Marvel Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. Should be a huge crowd for this fight. And Australia being the home country to the majority champion, George Kambosos. And last time there was a fight at a venue like this in Australia was, I believe, Manny Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn, and that event had a good turnout, and that fight isn't at the magnitude of this fight right here. It was more like a chance for the Australian public to witness Manny Pacquiao's greatness years later when he was past his prime versus one of their fellow countrymen, and how this fight was being promoted. Like, it was being promoted like, hey, this is, a Manny Pacquiao showcase, and definitely the American public in the Western Hemisphere had never heard of Jeff Horn before that, and I don't think anybody from Australia was talking about Jeff Horn either. And I don't really know how the Australian boxing scene is. I don't think it's like it is in America or Latin America or England or even Germany or Eastern Europe. Like, if you're an Australian person tapping into this video, y'all let me know how the boxing scene is looking out there in Australia. It seems like anytime somebody like a Gambosis or Tim Tszyu is fighting, seems like, those events turn out good. But y'all let me know, because I don't really hear much about the boxing scene over there in Australia. And what's his name, Parker, he's from like New Zealand, right? The heavyweight boxer. He's not Australian, but I know it's two different countries, obviously, but it's at the same region. So I want to see like how their boxing scene is over there. At least I want to hear about it. Like, I know I could look up some footages and whatnot, but uh, like how is the boxing scene like as far as the local talents go out there? I'm just wondering. But George Gambosis, he's got all the momentum swinging in his favor. Unlike, not to compare a man to a next man, but he's definitely got momentum in his favor. Jeff Horn has zero momentum going into that fight versus Manny Pacquiao. Gambosis is on the top of the world right now. He's the majority champion at the most competitive division in the sport, coming off the biggest win of his career and what was one of the best fights of last year versus Teofimo Lopez. And he's fighting another in prime, undefeated, very skilled champion in Devin Haney. And unlike George Gambosis, who was fighting on undercards or local fights in Australia or England, Devin Haney, he's been main eventing and headlining his own card since, I don't know, like ever since, he was on that undercard for Jake Paul's fights. Ever since, he was on there, he's been, headlining events as him being the main attraction. So he's had more of a eye on him than George Gambosis. Before fighting Teofimo Lopez, you had to like really been a boxing fan to have like any kind of general knowledge on this guy. But there's a lot of expectations from Devin Haney, from the American crowd at least. Devin Haney, he's been coming up through the ranks, right? As he's gaining more experience, he's taking on tougher competition, and this Saturday he's gonna go for that big one, try and unify all the titles at lightweight. And I guess he thinks he's ready, and his camp thinks he's ready. Um, Devin Haney, he's been champion for a long time. A lot of people say, a lot of criticizers want to say, Devin Haney's a paper champion. He was handed that belt. The Teofimo should have been the real WBC champion, but that's not how it turned out. And Devin Haney's one of the most pure boxers in the sport right now. One of the most fundamentally sound guys in the sport right now. He's got a beautiful style when it comes to his boxing ability, and yeah. It's gonna be a tough fight, man. Not only is this a huge fight for the boxing fans, but for the general public. Period. This is a fight that people in general do not want to miss. And I gotta salute the sport of boxing for the progressions that they've been making lately. We're obviously coming off the Mayweather Pacquiao era, and when they were the top dogs, whatever weight class he was fighting at was the hottest division in the sport. Well, I guess to the general eye, but yeah, the welterweight division it was stacked with some fierce talent, and they definitely wasn't having undisputed title fights like how the sport of boxing has been producing lately. So I gotta, salute the sport of boxing for that right there. And as far as breaking down the styles of both fighters and how this fight might play out, um, they're both good counter punchers. They're both very incredibly fast with their hands, and yeah, it should be a bar burner for sure. And um, Devin Haney, I think he's got the advantage when it comes to just boxing skills alone. I think he's more technically sound than Kambosos, makes less fundamental errors. Um, and he's definitely got the better jab. Devin Haney's got one of the best lead hand rather than hands. Lead hand. Let me correct my grammar there right quick. But yeah, Devin Haney's got one of the best lead hand in the sport of boxing right now. Very accurate with his jab. He knows when to put his jab out there. He knows how to use that as a distraction and as well as a legitimate power punch as well. But when it comes to power, though, Kambosos definitely got the advantage. I think Kambosos got the advantage when it comes to durability, chin, and power and size overall. And when it comes to athleticism, reflexes, and timing, definitely Devin Haney. And technical ability that also goes to Devin Haney as well. George Kambosos tends to leave himself open for shots, and he tends to put a little more weight on his lead side than he has to. And I think he has moments where he freezes up a lot and doesn't have the reflexes to make up for it. Unlike Devin Haney, where Devin Haney's athleticism, if he's out of position, his athleticism would save him. But Kambosos, I think he's more prone to taking more punches than Devin Haney. But I think he reacts to punches better than Devin Haney. Devin Haney in his last two fights, if you look at his fight versus Linares and Diaz, he was in deep waters in both of them fights. And Devin Haney, I think he just doesn't have the power behind his shots to stop his opponents at bay. And once they get through his speedy counter punching, and once they get through his jab, and when they get on the inside, Devin Haney likes to switch up his defense a lot. And when he gets caught in the middle of switching his defense while in range, he tends to get hit, and he doesn't react well to getting hit. And when he's in trouble, he shows that he has the heart and guts to, bang it out with his opponents when he's in deep water. But that's not smart, and it shows. He's not good at hiding that he's affected by those punches, and he tends to lose his footing and his ring awareness when he gets hit with a good shot. And George Kambosos, he's more durable. Like he's been in deep waters, and I think he reacts better to taking punches than Devin Haney. Now, like I said, George Kambosos, he's got good head movement when he's focused. He's got a good jab as well. Good hook, good feints, and good overhand right after following his feint and jab. But yeah, Um, he tends to get hit a lot, and when Devin Haney, somebody like him, who is accurate with his punching and who's good at dictating the pace of the fight and taking control, it could be trouble for George Kambosos if he gets peppered all night by Devin Haney's lead hand. But I don't know if Devin Haney has the power to keep George Kambosos off of him for all 12 rounds. Especially if he couldn't do that versus Linares or Diaz. And once George Kambosos gets past, Devin Haney's jabs, and Devin Haney's got good counterpunching abilities, very fast as well, especially with that trademark lead hook and that backhand uppercut of his. When his opponent tries to close his gap, he's good at the pull counter and catching them coming in with either, like I said, that counter lead hook or that counter backhand uppercut. But George Kambosos is a durable, tough guy, and once Kambosos gets through those punches of Devin Haney, that could be trouble for Devin Haney. And George Kambosos, he's a good reactionary puncher as well. Like I said, he's good at catching his opponent while they throw wasteful shots, or he just has good fast reactions as well, and he throws combos. He's very fast with his hands when it comes to combos, and that is a bad sign for Devin Haney, especially if it's in range, at a range where Kambosos is close enough to intrude through Devin Haney's guards, and at a distance or a position rather where Devin Haney doesn't want to get caught at. George Kambosos could really light him up, and he's got that ability through his hand speed and counterpunching ability if Devin Haney shall make a mistake while throwing whatever he throws at George Kambosos. Now, judging off of what I've seen in their past fights, as far as my prediction goes on who I'm picking to come out on top in this fight, I'm picking George Kambosos to stop Devin Haney. I say either the 10th or 11th round. It's going to be a late round stoppage win, TKO win for George Kambosos. Now, if y'all go watch the Manny Pacquiao-Jeff Horn fight, and that fight went the distance, it was a clear robbery. Manny Pacquiao should have definitely been the winner of that fight, but the hometown guy got that win. Made him a star, made him a lot of money, and made him a recognizable name in the sport for the time. But, it was definitely a terrible decision. And hopefully, it won't be bad officiating come Saturday for the Kambosos-Haney fight. But I think if Jorge Linares and Jojo Diaz were able to get past Devin Haney's punches, somebody of George Kambosos' stature and durability should be able to get through Devin Haney's punches for sure. He's definitely going to have some trouble, definitely in the earlier to mid rounds, figuring out Devin Haney's rhythm and getting past his jab and his speedy lead hand. And Devin Haney's going to catch him a few good times, especially when he's leaning more towards the front and distributing a little more weight than he should to his front, while stepping in, trying to close that gap versus Devin Haney. I think Devin Haney's going to capitalize off of that, catching him with some good, pullback counters. But, I think as the fight prolongs, I think George Kambosos is going to catch on to the rhythm later on. And once he finds an opening, he's going to, capitalize and counter Devin Haney's shots with some good counterpunch combos, and he's going to really display that hand speed, and he's going to want to close that gap, and I think it's going to be more of a trouble for George Kambosos to figure out Devin Haney's rhythm and him getting past Devin Haney's speed. I think that's what's going to cause him trouble throughout the fight. But I think, once they get past the midway mark, that's when I think George Kambosos is going to find some success with his offense. And yeah, and I don't think Devin Haney is going to react well to Kambosos' attack. Definitely if he didn't react well to the Diaz attacks and Linares attacks, who aren't as of a fierce puncher as George Kambosos, who dropped a much bigger Teofimo Lopez, who has trouble making 135, and who's talking about for his next fight he's gonna want to move up and weight to 140. So I think Devin Haney, is gonna, I think, get dropped maybe once or twice, and I think the referee's gonna, say enough. I think Devin Haney, he's got the heart, he's got the guts and will to bang it out. But like I said, I think Kambosos might be a little too much, and Kambosos' boxing ability is slept on as well. Like I said, his hand speed and his combinations is what gets people, and that's the exciting part of the sport. But that takes a lot of skills and focus, and when he's focused, his game is really sharp, and I think his technical abilities is slept on for sure. But yeah, that's my predictions for this undisputed lightweight title bout. Y'all let me know who y'all picking to win the fight. Y'all let me know what y'all thoughts are. Comment, subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. Y'all already know, and I'm out of here. Y'all, peace.